Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review. Animal Collective, Centipede Hz. This is the latest LP from Sonic Experimentalists' Animal Collective, their 9th full-length album, I believe. Maybe not their 9th LP technically as Animal Collective, but their 9th LP together as a group of musicians. And if you've been paying relatively close attention to underground independent music for the past 8 to 5 years, you've probably heard of Animal Collective and know a bit about the reputation. The 2000s brought a league of new sounds, expressions, and ideas to the world of psychedelic rock and pop, just neo-psychedelia. And as far as this new breed of psychedelic artists go, very few of them were as bold and as strange and as polarizing as Animal Collective. With one album after another, the band would deliver indescribable sound effects and an extreme use of the sound effects and studio trickery that we're already familiar with. Shouted vocals, harmonized vocals, weird angular melodies, inspiration coming from numerous styles of music coming from around the world. It's kind of difficult to do an overarching, kind of picture or description of the band's style because there is a noticeable shift in sound on every Animal Collective release. They've always brought some kind of evolution, whether it's to the wild and noisy and abrasive Here Comes the Indian, or the very kind of harmonious and stripped down and pretty sung tongs, or the very fun, inspiring, and colorful Strawberry Jam. Now, their last full-length album, Merriweather Post Pavilion, was their biggest success yet, and an album that was by far their poppiest. The band really took their usual abrasiveness and threw it out of the window. One of the members, Panda, who would usually, split songwriting duties with another member of the band, avey, tare, really kind of took the reins on that record as far as singing and songwriting. And as far as production and presentation goes, Merriweather Post Pavilion was definitely their biggest and glossiest album ever. It was still an Animal Collective album, but very, very groomed as you were going to get them, while still maintaining what makes them fundamentally them. Plus, the album just had some really fantastic singles: Brother Sport, Summertime Clothes, and of course what pretty much dominated all of 2009 in just bloggability and remixability, My Girls. This album just brought an immense amount of hype toward them and just internet harvested independent music in general. This LP in a lot of ways just marks a huge turning point, not only for Animal Collective, but for psychedelic music as well. How we as listeners share and talk about music, and the blogosphere that writes about this music every day. Earlier this year, the band dropped a new single, which I gave a very positive review to, and there was the announcement that Deakin, a member of the band who kind of took a temporary leave during the time the band was making Merriweather Post Pavilion, was now back. Plus, you had the track Today, Supernatural, which dropped before the release of this album, kind of promoting toward the release of this album. Gave it a review, very positive review, loved the song, still love the song, and to me that track forecasted a much rawer, noisier, and just more Strawberry Jam-esque kind of album, which I was excited for and got to an extent, but I can't help but feel a bit disappointed by the end product. And the main reason is that, for sure, just easily, no question, this is the first time I am picking up a new Animal Collective album, and the band has not introduced me to anything new, wildly different, or done anything surprising with their progression or evolution. And now that that gripe is out of the way, my second biggest gripe on this album, the production is pretty underwhelming. Merriweather Post Pavilion was certainly, like I said, Animal Collective's poppiest release, but did going more experimental mean kind of scaling back the big gargantuan presentation and the lushness of their sound and making things just more muddy, more messy? The vocal harmonies the Animal Collective puts out no longer are soaring and really kind of like awe-inspiring. They're really kind of grounded in loads of effects and a very claustrophobic mix. A claustrophobic mix that really has every song kind of feeling too alike for comfort, and really kind of kills a few of the very tender moments on this LP. I felt like one of my favorite tracks on here, Newtown Burnout, could have been more stripped down near the end. You know, sans all the effects and wacky noises, it just would have been a good tune. I really can't help but feel like the sound effects on that track aren't helping or enhancing the music in the same way they would be on Feels or Strawberry Jam. Centipede Hz is definitely really chaotic and hectic, but it's kind of to the point where it's impeding on the enjoyability of some of these tracks. Like the track Mercury Man, for example, which I think has the best melody on this entire album, and a nice kind of emphasis on the upbeat toward the beginning of the track. Kind of reminds me of like a psychedelic, weird, glitchy reggae tune or something like that. But the thing is, especially toward the end of the track where things get really kind of melodic, you really kind of get more sounds in there, the vocals, which are really kind of just bringing all the emotion to the tune, are just shoved down underneath everything, and in a really, I guess, unflattering way. Or the song Rosie, which has a really great melody as well. You have a bass, a guitar, a beat on there, vocals, but the thing is, the tune is good. There's nothing really all that weird or psychedelic about the sounds that those instruments are making. Everything surrounding the track is what's making a weird sound. And to me, it just kind of feels like, well, what's the point? You could easily subtract all of these effects and get the same exact tune. I'm not seeing these sounds or effects adding to the song. It's just kind of like looking at yourself in a foggy mirror and just like trying to wipe it and wipe it and wipe it, and it just does not come clear. The track Monkey Ridges, for example, is another track that to me feels too chaotic, to the point where the verse and the chorus just don't really have that much contrast. When you hear that shift in the song, there's not really a different feeling or anything like that. The other issue that I have with this LP, be it the smallest one that I have, is that Animal Collective does not bring the usual interesting song structures or interesting melodies to some of these songs. The track Wide-Eyed, which I think is a Deakin contribution to the album, is a really monotonous track. The sound of the guitars on that thing really call back to the older world of psychedelic rock, which I didn't really care for all too much. I know Animal Collective does have a huge Brian Wilson influence, but this just felt kind of out of place to me. Plus the beat and just the phrasing of the guitar, just everything about the track is just kind of monotonous. The groove just kind of gets old, and for some reason Deakin's voice just has kind of a Jeff Mangum quality to it. The song to me kind of feels like a glitched out Neutral Milk Hotel track. The song Pulleys as well, toward the end of the album, doesn't really have much of an impressive progression to it either. Overall, I think this is a record that would have been fun to make, but you know, maybe not as fun to me to listen to. I feel like I just got a good chunk of songs on this album kind of sounding more complicated than they really are, just because so many effects are thrown on top of them. I don't feel like Animal Collective has toned their sound down at all. In a lot of ways, they're more potent than ever, but I can't help but feel like so many of these tracks, for me personally, would have had more impact if they actually felt kind of organized. Some better production would have helped that, and I think it would have resulted in an album with more variety. Typically, I like dense albums, but I just kind of found this LP to be a bit redundant. And I find myself liking a lot of ideas on this album too. Oh, this part's really lush. That's a cool vocal. That's a great melody. That's an interesting sound. But rarely did all of these characteristics or just all of the stars align on these tracks and just make me think, yes, this is awesome from beginning to end. Just kind of felt like a lot of songs on here were just underwhelming. Not horrible, but underwhelming. Really kind of feeling a light to decent 6 on this thing. What did you guys think of it? If you've given it a listen, did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? And what should I review next? I'm sure a lot of you have questions about this review, and I'm happy to take one if you yes.
Yes. Okay. Why do you hate the Animal Collections?
I don't hate Animal Collective. You're just gonna have to rewatch the review, maybe take a breath, calm down a little bit, and realize that this is just an opinion. And yeah, that's it. I still love you. You know, I do. Remember, the good comment, the great rate, and the strong subscribe. Anthony Fantano, Animal Collective, forever.